Let's offend some people. Hello, if you haven't met me before, I'm Lauren Rogers, and today I'm going to do something a little different from my usual content. I've been watching a lot of unpopular opinions videos lately, just because I think it's fun to hear what people think about stuff. And so this morning I woke up feeling like I wanted to share mine. Now, if you're here to listen to me talk about politics or any, hypersensitive cultural stuff, you're gonna be disappointed. We're not talking about that today. The vast majority of this video is just me sharing opinions about music, cartoons, TV, theater, just all the nerdy things I like. A lot of these opinions aren't necessarily unpopular so much as I don't hear them a lot. So this video isn't really gonna be offensive. It's really just me sharing my own unique views, not cornpone opinions, as Mark Twain would say. I consider myself a very opinionated person. It's one of my weaknesses and one of my strengths. I like to think I know what I'm talking about. Personally, I don't believe there is such thing as a bad opinion as long as you can back it up. Unless, of course, you're discriminating against / hurting people for reasons that are shallow and stupid. We don't do that here. So let's get into it with my first unpopular anime opinion, which is that Haruhi and Tamaki did not need to kiss at the end of Ouran High School Host Club. Now, as far as I'm concerned, Ouran's ending was perfect. Wouldn't have changed a thing. Another season would have been nice, but But all I freaking see in comment sections of people talking about Ouran is how, oh, the ending was so terrible. We had the perfect couple and they didn't kiss. It's kiss, kiss, fall in love, not hug, hug, fall in a river. Which, obviously a kiss would have been nice, but people act like because they didn't kiss, they didn't get confirmed as a canon couple. Which, aside from the fact that in the manga they literally get married, the show ends with them waltzing in each other's arms, and it's all romantic and sweet. Honestly, I think this shows a lack of anime experience on some people's part, because, I've only watched 14 anime, so I'm not really one to talk, but the only 2 shows I've watched where the main couple actually gets to kiss are Toradora and Yuri on Ice. It just really doesn't happen that much. Let's not forget the fact that Haruhi and Tamaki are literally in high school. They pretty much just now realized they have feelings for each other. I'm sure that after the series they go on to have a relationship, and it's adorable, but at this point they're really not there yet as far as a kiss goes. Honestly, I don't know what y'all are complaining about. A romantic slow dance is way more than a lot of my favorite anime couples get. I'm looking at you, Arakawa! Seriously, y'all are spoiled. You guys don't know real heartbreak until your OTP doesn't even get to call each other by their first names. Speaking of Royai, which was bound to come up at some point, gotta stay on brand. I was completely satisfied with Haruhi and Tamaki's final scene. As much as I loved the finale of Brotherhood overall, Roy and Rize's final scene could have been way better. You get the perfect button on Ed and Winry's relationship, and I'm not asking that they kiss or confess or anything, but at least give me a scene where they actually speak to each other. Don't just give me Rize looking at him from across the room. We deserve more than that. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are like, oh, their actual final scene was just them facing off against Father, which was awesome, and this was just kind of a coda. I'm sure it's mostly just the fact that I'm starved for content with them because, let's be real, I will never be satisfied. I feel like they deserved one last touching moment together. The scene 2003 messed up so much about Roy and Rize's relationship. That's a topic for a whole nother video. But the scene with them at the end in the hospital with Roy stroking her hair and being like, the world isn't perfect, but that's what frick.
Nothing's perfect. The world's not perfect. But it's there for us, trying the best it can. That's what makes it so damn beautiful.
Scene's the closest we got in either series to either of them saying I love you or anything like that, so I'm sorry, it just would have been nice. Maybe this won't be as much of a problem after Arakawa's new project is announced next July. Cough, cough. Please let it be a Royai spinoff, I'm begging you. Unpopular opinion I have that I really do not know why it's unpopular is that Draco Malfoy just sucks. Don't get me wrong, he's a fine character for what his role in the story is, but he's not a badass, he's not cool, he's a little tragic, but not nearly enough to make him interesting. He's not even that cute! Oh, Draco is a coward and a bully with stupid hair, and people who like him only like him because they want to fix him. No joke, Harry is literally better in every conceivable way. No joke. I actually wrote an entire essay for my AP English class about why Draco Malfoy is the most overrated character ever to exist, and I don't know what grade I got on it, but I just know it was some of my best work. The only time in the series where Draco was even remotely likable was Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And I don't know why anyone in their right mind would ship Draco with Harry or Hermione when he does not have a single positive interaction with either of them. Like, seriously, y'all need some help. Speaking of dumb ships, Bakudeku only makes slightly more sense than Drarry. I am a huge fan of the character development that their relationship has gotten over the course of the seasons, but like, there is way too much competition with the two of them for them to ever work as a couple. Like, Bakugo and Ochako makes even less sense because the only interaction they've pretty much gotten in the whole series was him beating her to a pulp at the sports festival. It's worse than Hermione! The only ship involving Bakugo that makes any sense is Kiribaku. Kiribaku's freaking where it's at, guys. The My Hero Academia fandom in general is just kinda hella stupid when it comes to ships. Like, Totodeko, I mean, their friendship is cute and all, but it's really just that, a friendship. To be fair, I could be wrong since I haven't read most of the manga, but like, I don't think there was anything in their interactions to suggest any sort of like romantic chemistry to me. This kind of leads into another thing, which is like, so many people, especially in the anime community, will see two characters interacting, especially two guy characters, and be like, they're gay! They breathed on each other! They're gay! I'm not saying it's wrong to ship two guy characters who aren't explicitly said to be in a romantic relationship in the series. I mean, half the reason I even liked Maze Runner was because of Numas. But there have to be more indicators than just them having some nice interactions or a suspiciously homoerotic fight. Because I think it really discourages guys in real life from developing strong emotional connections with their male friends because they're afraid of being perceived as gay. To be fair, I think a lot of this is justified because the queer community has had so little representation in media for so long that they've sort of had to create their own representation by imagining relationships between characters that they wish existed but really don't. I think now that we're starting to see a lot more interesting, well-written, healthy gay and lesbian relationships in television and other media, there won't have to be so much of that. Another big part of the problem is that so often in media, if a guy and a girl have positive interactions frequently together, they usually will end up as a couple. I think that every bit as much as we need to see healthy same-sex relationships in media, we also need to see strong non-sexual relationships between men and women. But this leads me into my no less than 4 unpopular opinions related to Voltron Legendary Defender, and the first is that I really do think Keith and Lance were just friends. With how hyped Clance is within the nerd community, I really expected watching their relationship for it to be like some sort of epic fire-forged bond thing, and it really wasn't. I mean, they're a great duo, don't get me wrong, but their interactions primarily consist solely of banter, and then the rare, sweet, emotional moments we get are just mainly Keith encouraging Lance to go after Allura. I don't know a whole lot about the controversy surrounding Voltron, but I feel like 90% of the reason Clance is so prominent is because the advertising team behind the show saw that most of Voltron's fanbase was gay and took advantage of that and acted like the relationship was going to be a thing, and then it wasn't. I could be completely inaccurate, but just based on what I've heard, I think it's what happened. Personally, I think it makes a heck of a lot more sense to ship Keith with Shiro. I'm not saying I do, just that it makes more sense. Their relationship just personally felt a lot more deep and romantic coded to me. I mean, Keith literally tells Shiro, I love you. How common is that between, like, just friends? And the age difference really isn't even a problem when you think about it. Keith's at least 18 or 19 by the end of the show, and Shiro's only, like, 25. Secondly, and I'm gonna get some heat for this, but I think Keith as a character is kind of overrated. I mean, I certainly don't dislike him, but like, he was definitely the least interesting out of the Paladins for the amount of attention he got, and I don't think there was really a whole lot about him that separated from similar brooding heartthrob characters of his ilk. I also don't really understand the hate that the ending got. I mean, I know that there are videos on YouTube, like, picking it apart, and I haven't really watched them yet just because I don't feel like it. I know a lot of people felt like the last 2 seasons shouldn't have gotten made, which, I mean, I can understand why they think that, but I mean, since they did get made, I feel like the ending was, you know, a reasonable direction for the show to go in. It was emotional, it did right by the characters, it had scope. I know a lot of people don't like the fact that Allura died, but I mean, it still felt like a reasonable way to end her character arc, and I've watched plenty of other shows where the main character dies, so I guess I'm just kind of used to it. Whatever. Maybe the final season wasn't as good as I think it was. I just don't think it deserved, like, such horrible ratings on IMDb. Actually, I think Voltron kind of got better as it went on, because, like, at the start, I mean, I liked the characters and all, but it felt very, like, cliche space opera to me. It started going with more challenging, interesting concepts than just form Voltron as the series went on. Now I'm gonna get into a few unpopular musical theater opinions. Relax, they're not that bad. Okay, so I listened to the original cast recording of Spring Awakening a couple weeks ago for the first time, and it kind of sucked. This is not me dragging Spring Awakening as a show. The story is incredibly tragic and compelling. The music is very well composed. My problem was with its delivery. Like, Spring Awakening is supposed to be this show about pent-up passion and teen angst, and, you know, it should feel very raw. And half the time, the cast just sounded bored. Like, I get that maybe they were trying to go for, like, an apathetic, disillusioned, over it sort of vibe, but, like, that doesn't really work in the moments where, like, I'm really supposed to feel something. I just didn't get any really, like, dynamism or conviction from the songs. Like, they all sort of felt like same volume, same tone, same. And the only songs in the show that I ended up really liking / remembering were Mama Who Bore Me Reprise, The Dark I Know Well, and Forgive Me Mom, Totally Fucked. What I've seen of the Death West revival, which I have to get around to actually watching at some point, they did a lot better with the anguish and the spirit of the show. May not be an unpopular opinion at all, I just really haven't heard anyone talk about it. And now, I will give my 2 cents on the infamous Great Comet versus Dear Evan Hansen debate. I had not listened to Great Comet at the time that what years was it? The 2017 Tonys happened, so I was mainly just rooting for Dear Evan Hansen because I hadn't listened to any of the other shows because I was kind of a newbie at the time. However, having now listened to and become a fan of both musicals, I think that Dear Evan Hansen deserved Best Book and Great Comet deserved Best Score. Music in Dear Evan Hansen is definitely great for what the show is trying to accomplish. However, Great Comet's score is so complex and rich and vocally challenging, and it's honestly nothing like any modern musical that has come out in, like, the last 10 years. Like, I always talk about how, I miss, like, the grandiose scores that sound like Les Mis and Phantom of the Opera and Miss Saigon and things like that. Like, we don't really get musicals like that anymore. And, like, Great Comet is one of the closest things, because, like, the score incorporates so many different genres and voice types, and the music is so, like, powerful and melodic and emotionally rich. And Dear Evan Hansen just doesn't really compare, in my opinion. However, in terms of story, Dear Evan Hansen just hits. So many parts of the script are just painfully relatable. It was definitely the perfect musical for our time. In hindsight, Great Comet does have the advantage of being the underdog because Dear Evan Hansen is still going and still relevant and still raking in the dough, whereas Great Comet closed 3 years ago because of a very stupid mistake. Great Comet and Dear Evan Hansen are both best musical worthy shows that unfortunately had to come out in the same year. My personal preference now is probably Great Comet, but I don't begrudge Dear Evan Hansen its win at all. This may not be an unpopular opinion. It may start to get discussed more once the hype for this movie has died down. I personally overall adored the In the Heights movie. I was quite disappointed with the actresses they cast as Nina and Vanessa. Nina had some fine acting moments, especially at the end of Breathe, and Vanessa has actually a really nice voice that she shows off a little more in later moments in the show. But I feel like a lot of the time, Vanessa sort of had the same facial expression in a lot of her scenes, and Nina's voice just, like, lacked that soulful quality that I'm so used to with Mandy Gonzalez. Like, she kind of sounded like a 12-year-old. I just remember being all ready for Vanessa's big no when she comes in. Just being so disappointed when I hear it and there's, like, no power behind it. I also think that for some reason, the Nina and Vanessa's vocal parts, like, didn't sync up with their lip flaps for some reason. Like, whenever Anthony Ramos or whoever the guy who played Benny were on screen, like, their voice and their acting / movements just synced up so perfectly, so it felt so realistic. And then for some reason that just didn't happen with the girls. And something that really bugs me is I know they lowered Breathe a key, and they also, the big belty note at the end of When You're Home, they just made it spoken, and, like, I'm just really not a fan of when a show will, like, dumb down a vocal part to make it easier for the actor playing the role. Like, Just cast someone who can play the role as written. Overall, they weren't terrible. There were things I enjoyed about both of their performances, but like, I kept thinking, are these really the best people they could have picked? Like, I feel like maybe they were picked more for their looks. Loved the In the Heights movie overall. Both of these actresses had pretty good moments. I think I'm a little spoiled because the women always sound so good in everything Lin-Manuel Miranda's ever done, and I'm just not used to frickin' Anthony Ramos sounding better than whoever the female leads are. And that is where I have decided to sign off for today. I have a lot more unpopular / unique / not cornpone opinions that I want to put in another video, but I really don't feel like doing any more filming right now. And the last time I tried to upload a video that was over 15 minutes, it took literally all day to process, and I don't feel like going through that right now. So, bye!